Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshady6 and this is Grief Syndrome. First things first, the upcoming level really is supposed to look like that. Nope, there are no technical difficulties in this video. We'll be playing as the Devourer of Worlds, Kyoko Sakura. Seriously, does she have a dimensional portal in her mouth? There's no way someone can stuff oneself so much. In preparation for this stage, I leveled up Kyoko to 24. Now for the previous stages, it was okay to pick a fresh, untrained magical girl, but for as far as we are now, I really wouldn't recommend it anymore. So, what can be said about stage 4? It is by far the most abstract and stylized area we've encountered so far. Take a quick guess as to what its symbolism stands for. The answer is religion. Don't feel bad if you didn't guess that, because I had to look it up as well. The enemies that are out for our blood here are called the Sebastians. They are the blind believers. Not to be confused with believers, though the witch of this barrier does have a cult centered around herself, so maybe it's not all that different. About the Sebastians, they're modeled after the Chinese zodiac, so the witch we are hunting should have 12 sorts of them, but to keep things simple, only 3 have made it into the game. The rabbit, the snake and the dragon. Now we haven't seen any of those dragons yet, but they will start appearing in section 2, and we have entered that one a few seconds ago. But let's take our attention away from the Sebastians and talk about who we're playing as. Kyoko is the other melee-oriented character of the game, and she's somewhat the polar opposite of Sayaka. That doesn't mean she's underpowered, of course. I would never say that, and hope to live. Her attacks are a little more powerful than Sayaka's, and her spear swings both further and wider. She really needs those advantages because her defenses are much thinner. She can't allow herself to just recklessly brawl. And here we have, right on cue, Kyoko's super, the Diamond Barrier. Once again, this one works different than all the others before. It's actually a defensive move. It's supposed to paralyze all the enemies that it comes in contact with, and it's very useful if you don't want to get surrounded. It's also helpful for cancelling out destructible projectiles, like the fireballs that the snakes spit. It doesn't work against the flamethrower of the dragons though, so you still have to watch out for those. Now about that super, it's somewhat a controversial one. A lot of people say that it flat out sucks and that you shouldn't use it, but I disagree. I must admit that it's undoubtedly the most underwhelming of the supers, but it will come in handy at places as long as you use it cleverly. For example, it's really nice to just hide in it and poke all of the enemies that come too close, because all the cool people play dirty, and being protected from projectiles can also be a lifesaver at times. We've just arrived in section 3 and right off the bat we're smothered in dragons. The Sebastians will seem very chaotic to you at first, with all their disappearing and reappearing, but each type sticks to a certain behavior. The rabbits can only tackle against you, making them only dangerous in melee. The snakes will sometimes bite for you, but most of the time they'll spit fireballs. The very tall snakes, however, have the ability to shoot up to 5 fireballs in succession. And finally, we have the majestic dragons. The small and medium versions of those act just like the rabbits, only that they attack quicker. And you already know about the very big dragons and their flame breath. Really don't get hit by that because it will hit you multiple times, no blinking frames. But with all that said, you know what I hate most about the Sebastians? Well, 2 things. First of all, they have very tiny hitboxes. Not a big problem for Kyoko, but it is for others. Second, I really hate this constant infernal teleporting. It makes your charge attacks basically useless in this part. Very unfortunate for Kyoko because she has a very good one. Gives you a boost and you rush all across the screen. Speaking of rushing, the level is already over and now we are up against the Shadow Witch Elsa Maria. Now when it comes to style, this is my absolute favorite witch in the game. You know what I describe her as? Deliciously disgusting. She's got a bit of Japanese horror to her when she turns into goo and shakes like that. Really hits the mark. Whenever you see her do that, that means she's about to shoot shadowy hands against you in one of 3 patterns. The most simple one is coming right up, where she'll shoot triple hands directly at you. Alternatively, she will shoot many hands in multiple directions, and you will have to stand right or jump in between the gaps. And last but not least, she also has a pattern where she shoots the hands towards the ceiling first, they will come back down and home in on you. As long as you keep moving, you will mislead them all, and you'll be fine and dandy. So far, the fight may look very intimidating to you, but keep in mind that with these hands, only the hands themselves are dangerous. The streams, or I guess the arms that they leave, are completely harmless. So far, we're really doing well. Kyoko is not only well suited for the level, but for dealing with Elsa Maria as well. In comparison to Sayaka, probably equal, though it takes a little longer to learn how to use Kyoko. But you know, if there's one thing that Kyoko has that Sayaka doesn't, it's air superiority. Her upwards and downwards strong attack both hit very hard and are practical at the same time. But for now, let's talk about that. That is Elsa Maria's ultimate attack, and if you think it looks like it hurts even more than it looks like. If the tree impales you directly, it will just keep doing damage to you, and it's effectively an instant death attack. But it's actually not that hard to dodge. Once you see the branch forming, just move over to the side where Elsa Maria is facing, and it'll miss. Such a violent, horrible attack. I love it. That aside, there's one thing really remarkable about Elsa Maria. She's the only boss in the game that has a noticeable pissy boss mode to her. Once her health gets lower than 30%, the 3 patterns where she shoots out hands will change drastically. The triple hands will be shot twice in a row, the multiple hands will be more in numbers and have smaller gaps in between them, and finally, the homing hands will chase you around for about twice the time. Once you reach that point, you really want to finish her off quickly, and looking at things here, we have accomplished just that. Goodbye, Elsa Maria. Man, it always makes me feel so sad to see her go. But it had to be done for the good of mankind. These tears will dry up in time, and right now we have another job well done. The barrier dissolves and we return to the dark of the night. But you know, one thing was missing this time. Yeah. You never actually got to see what Kyoko looks like, did you? So, before we end it, let's remedy that. Here she is, showing off in all of her glory. But you know what? I think she should look differently. She should look like that. I'm Gash86, this was Grief Syndrome, and next time we'll experience The Little Mermaid in a way that Disney would never dare to show us. Bis bald!